Hello everyone, welcome to the Tim Booker channel. Wishing you all an enjoyable listening experience. Today, we're diving into a heavyweight in the field of cognitive psychology. It's the renowned book, How the Mind Works. Its author, Steven Pinker, taught at MIT and Harvard University. He's widely acknowledged as one of the most prominent cognitive psychologists and linguists in the contemporary world. How significant is Pinker in cognitive psychology? If we liken this field to a marketplace and its subdisciplines to various shops, some studying language acquisition, others irrational behavior, emotions, and so forth, then Pinker is the architect of this marketplace. He liberated the vague topic of mind from traditional theological and philosophical discussions, shifting it toward scientific explanations. Pinker transformed abstract emotions, beliefs, and imagination into tangible information, integrating the study of the mind into neuroscience, enabling the measurement and investigation of elusive concepts. This consensus laid the groundwork for subsequent achievements in brain and neural sciences. The book we're discussing today is one of Pinker's renowned Language and Human Nature tetralogy. In essence, these four works compile Pinker's reflections on humans, essentially exploring the essence of humanity. The other three books include The Language Instinct, How the Mind Works, and The Blank Slate, all of which have been covered in the Daily Book Listen. Today's focus, How the Mind Works, primarily delves into what the human mind truly is and the abilities it bestows upon humanity. A caveat: this book was initially written in 1997, and many viewpoints within it may no longer represent cutting-edge scientific conclusions today. Nevertheless, Pinker's ideas remain valuable because they serve as a blueprint for this field of study. Regardless of where you are conducting your research within this field, holding on to these ideas allows you to consistently understand your position within it. In simple terms, it provides a panoramic framework for recognizing the discipline of the mind. Next, I'll break it down into three parts to share Pinker's theories on the mind. 1. In the first part, we'll explore Pinker's perspective on what exactly constitutes the human mind. 2. The second part delves into the origins of the human mind and how it comes into existence. 3. But finally, we'll briefly discuss the function of this mental system. Pinker asserts that it is the mind that grants us the abilities to become who we are today. Alright, let's start with the first question. What is the human mind according to Pinker? Before directly addressing that, I'd like to share a passage from Pinker in the opening of this book. Why are there so many robots in fiction, yet none in real life? I'd love to pay top dollar for a robot to do my dishes or run errands for me. But in this century, I won't get the chance, and probably not in the next century either. This was back in 1997. Look, even someone as influential as Pinker hadn't foreseen that in the 21st century, robots doing chores or tasks for us wouldn't be a novelty anymore. However, Pinker's prediction wasn't entirely off. The robots and artificial intelligence we witness today can indeed perform tasks assigned to them, but they're far from what Pinker envisioned. Pinker's idea of a robot wasn't just a machine executing commands, it was about imbuing a machine with human-like cognition. Yet, achieving human-like cognition in artificial intelligence is incredibly challenging and hasn't been accomplished so far. Furthermore, before granting machines human-like cognition, one must thoroughly understand what human cognition truly entails. But on that front, we still have a long way to go. In essence, Pinker wants to convey two things. Firstly, the model of human cognition is akin to a black box, immensely complex and not yet fully understood by anyone. Secondly, there's a key entry point to comprehend this intricate human cognition, imagining a perfect robot, identical to humans, and understanding what it would entail. Viewing it from this perspective, making machines possess human-like cognition isn't merely about equipping them with a specific organ akin to the human brain. We've seen plenty of such machines. A machine possessing human cognition would autonomously observe, reason, judge, and think. It would mobilize various parts of its body to accomplish tasks, just as humans do. In other words, to make a machine resemble a human, it's not about a specific organ resembling the human brain, but a complete system. Pinker regards this as the essence of human cognition. Cognition isn't just the brain or our cognitive activities, it's a system composed of computational organs, designed through natural selection to address survival challenges faced by our ancestors in primitive life. Pinker's foundational theory on cognition, the computational theory of mind, likens the operation of the mind to a computer system, evolved within us. This theory remains one of the most representative core theories in cognitive science and a hot topic in philosophy. It proposes that there's a set of algorithms in nature, and human mental phenomena are a manifestation of these algorithms. In this theory, Pinker introduces the computer metaphor, likening the human brain to a computer. Human cognition and psychological processes are, essentially, a form of computation. Just as computers utilize chips and memory to store data, our minds predominantly rely on neurons in the brain to receive stimuli, process information, and generate responses. So, how does this mental model operate? According to Pinker, similar to a computer receiving instructions and then processing them, our cognition receives information and processes it in various representations within the brain, culminating in specific reactions and behaviors, the final output stage. An important concept here is representation. Pinker suggests that representation is how information is presented in our minds, akin to data types stored in a computer. For instance, when we hear elephant, our mental imagery includes a gigantic mammal with a long trunk and big ears. These visual attributes, gigantic size, long trunk, big ears, represent our mental image of an elephant. You might wonder, how did Pinker discern the brain's operational method? It wasn't a mere guess. Scientists conducted experiments and found that this model indeed explained how the brain functions. For instance, psychologists conducted an experiment on volunteers' attention and response times. Participants sat in front of a screen, fixated on it, maintaining their focus. Every few seconds, a pair of letters flashed on the screen. Volunteers were tasked to press the correct key when the screen displayed identical letters, like 2 uppercase A's or 1 uppercase A, and 1 lowercase a, and a different key when different letters appeared, like AB. Scientists observed significant variations in the volunteers' responses even for the same letters. For instance, when participants saw 2 uppercase A's or 2 lowercase a's, their key press speed and accuracy were better than when both uppercase and lowercase versions appeared together. However, when a letter appeared first, followed by another after a few seconds, the results were unrelated to the appearance of the letters. Whether 2 uppercase A's or 1 uppercase A, followed by 1 lowercase a, the accuracy and response time showed negligible differences. Pinker believed this experiment revealed at least 4 primary formats of representation in the human brain, delineating how information exists in the mind. Firstly, visual imagery functions as the brain's first representation. When people encounter new information, they unconsciously visualize it in a two-dimensional, blurry form in their minds. For example, when individuals see 2 uppercase A's simultaneously, they readily press the correct key, relying on visual representation. However, with adequate reaction time, other representations are required to process information. This explains why when 2 identical letters, regardless of case, appeared consecutively, there were minor differences in people's judgments and response times. What about the other representations? The second is auditory representation, akin to a player in our minds. Besides visual representation, we often absorb information through auditory input. This auditory representation is crucial in our short-term memory. When memorizing a phone number, we often repeat it silently, temporarily retaining it. In such instances, information exists in the brain as auditory representation. Then comes grammatical representation, our brain's rule system while speaking. Pinker and many linguists believe our brains harbor a set of fixed grammar rules, akin to a computer's default system. Over time and influenced by the native language environment, these grammar rules stabilize. Learning a new language illustrates this phenomenon. At the beginning, it might feel unfamiliar because your brain retains the grammar system of your native language, requiring deliberate adjustment to adapt to the new language. The final representation is mental language, a form of thinking language. After finishing a book, you might forget its font or the page number of a particular viewpoint, but you retain what the book conveyed, its core ideas. Mental language helps us grasp key information and significance. Overall, these four representations are akin to feeding four different commands to a computer. Based on these commands, we can engage various modules in the mind, process and compute, and eventually take specific actions. This concludes the first part. According to Pinker, the human mind resembles a computer-like system, with our cognitive components being modules of a computer designed intricately, each possessing its algorithms. If the human mind is akin to a sophisticated computer, who designed this computer? In other words, how did our cognitive pattern come to be? The second part ahead addresses this question. Pinker suggests our cognitive pattern is determined by our genetic blueprint, which evolved through natural selection. This introduces Pinker's second theory on the mind, the theory of natural selection. Essentially, Pinker posits that humans are essentially survival machines for genes. We eliminate genes that aren't conducive to survival, retaining those aiding reproduction. This process perpetuates the evolution of our bodies and brains. Over millions of years, genes have developed a complex technology to ensure their survival and perpetuation in competitive environments. Now, this leads to a pertinent question: genes themselves lack intelligence, they mechanically replicate. How then did higher cognitive activities like those in humans emerge? Pinker argues that human ancestors had four advantages that led to the evolution of advanced reasoning, thereby acquiring high-level cognition. Let's explore these factors. One factor facilitating mental evolution is our visual system. As primates, our eyes are vital for perceiving the external world. Scientists found that animals like rhesus macaques allocated half their brain for vision. Why does vision hold a superior advantage over other senses in mental evolution? Pinker suggests that vision enables depth perception through binocular vision, facilitating agile movement in trees and accurate assessment of distances from prey. Moreover, eyes discern colors, allowing judgments on whether food is edible based on its appearance. Without a developed visual system, our perception of the external world would be comparatively delayed. Vision enables rapid comprehension of the environment, offering precise survival information. Essentially, a well-developed visual system provides a convenient and efficient input interface, laying a foundation for further information processing. But visual input alone isn't enough. The second precondition for mental evolution is communal living. Besides protection and improved foraging efficiency, communal living significantly increases the value of information. Animals and groups gain benefits merely by exchanging knowledge, leading to a significantly higher influx of information into the brain, demanding more efficient processing by the mental system. Moreover, communal living introduces new cognitive challenges. Inequality, competition for resources, and risks of harm or betrayal in social animals create pressure, compelling animals to become smarter to make correct choices. This social life pattern allowed our ancestors to evolve cooperative and competitive social behaviors, distinguishing our cognition from other animals. In addition to good vision and communal life, the third precondition for mental evolution is our hands. Bipedalism freed our hands for gripping, manipulating objects, crafting tools from materials gathered from various places, and using them where they were most beneficial. These significantly aided the coordination between our minds and bodies. Lastly, hunting served as the final condition for intelligent evolution, being our ancestors' predominant means of sustenance. Hunting allowed survival in harsher conditions and provided surplus for offspring. Meat constituted a high proportion of our ancestors' diets due to a lack of plant processing skills and the richer nutritional value of meat. Besides sustenance, meat became the primary currency in primitive societies. Hunting wasn't just about physical strength, it was incidental. In a time without preservation methods, food spoiled quickly. Hence, sharing food created alliances among males in primitive societies. Leftover food served as currency and commodity for various purposes. Pinker suggests that this exchange formed the basis of reciprocal altruism in early societies. Surplus from hunting had various markets: for offspring, for females to garner more mating opportunities, and as a medium of exchange. Thus, survival, in the beginning, evolved into fixed social relations, which the brain processed, greatly advancing the maturity of mental systems. These factors, vision, communal living, dexterous hands, and hunting, lay the foundation for the evolution of our minds, according to Pinker, a product of natural selection. Let's briefly address the final question: what, fundamentally, is the function of our mature mind system? Pinker suggests that the evolution of the mind endowed us with four foundational abilities: visual perception, social relations, reasoning, and emotions, which collectively shape who we are today. We've previously covered visual perception and social relations, abilities that, with mental development, continually strengthen and refine, needing no further elaboration here. Let's delve into reasoning and emotions, the capabilities demonstrated by an advanced mental function. Firstly, reasoning involves deriving conclusions from known or hypothetical facts. Pinker posits that while everyone possesses reasoning skills, not all are excellent scientists. From an evolutionary perspective, the purpose of mental evolution isn't to make us smarter but to better adapt to our environment. In the thought process, items are categorized. It's akin to placing different things into separate boxes and labeling each box. When encountering diverse problems, we rapidly find answers from different boxes based on labels and prior experiences. Although we can't fully understand the specific characteristics of everything, we observe their most apparent traits, generalize commonalities, and group similar things. The more refined our categorization, the easier the reasoning process when faced with new problems. This foundational thought process extends from our ancestors determining edible items to us discerning titles like sister or aunt when addressing a woman. This reasoning ability includes logical deductions, natural inferences about relationships between events, basic arithmetic skills, and intuitive estimations of probabilities to make optimal decisions within our cognitive limits. These reasoning capabilities granted by the mind make human thought processes exceedingly complex. Our reasoning capacity, resembling an information processing system in a computer, categorizes the myriad complex information entering the brain, allowing for relatively rational thinking. Transitioning from rational reasoning, let's explore the emotional aspect, the other major capability bestowed upon us by the mind. Regarding emotions, one might feel they have no practical place within the mind if the mind were likened to a computer. They don't serve as effective means like a developed visual system aiding in food acquisition or danger perception, nor like reasoning abilities facilitating rational decisions. Why then evolve such seemingly useless emotional systems? Pinker views the emotional system as a sophisticated mechanism guiding us to select better environments and avoid risks. Consider nausea as a typical example. Most people feel uncomfortable seeing snakes, caterpillars, spiders, or decaying matter, vomit, or feces. However, this display of disgust is an essential emotional trait evolved during human evolution. It arises because items that trigger disgust typically harbor numerous bacteria, parasites, or harmful microorganisms. Excessive exposure to these substances easily leads to illness and, in severe cases, poses life-threatening risks. Disgust naturally steers us away from these items. Crucially, this emotional response is largely encoded in our genes. There's no need for postnatal learning to avoid these risks. This illustration represents only one example. Emotions like joy, fear, and others each serve their purposes, deeply tied to our ancestors' original survival needs. In summary, visual perception, social relations, reasoning, and emotions constitute the primary functions of our mind system. Their coevolution shapes who we are today. Alright, this concludes our exploration of the wonders of the mind. Before I wrap up, let me share my personal reflections. Our model of the human brain has always been a metaphor. During the industrial age, many scientists viewed the human mind as a precise mechanical device. In Pinker's computer era, researchers tended to perceive the human mind as a computer, believing that psychological development and language learning are fundamentally processes of information input, processing, and output within a computational system. Our explanations of brain mechanisms consistently rely on the most advanced computing tools available. Hence, I'm curious about how the emergence of the next generation of computing tools, such as the widely discussed quantum computers, or even unimaginable future tools, will lead to more disruptive theoretical models regarding the human brain. It appears that merely advancing our tools expands our understanding of the mind. Congratulations on completing another book. I appreciate everyone's support and attention. Please subscribe to the Tim Booker channel, like this content, and share this valuable knowledge with friends. Let's combine wisdom with practice to achieve our financial goals and create a better future together. Thank you all, goodbye.